Hello and welcome to my third tutorial in my Java development series, and in this tutorial I'm going to talk about variables. A variable is something that can store data, such as numbers and words. There are different data types for variables, like an integer which can store numbers, or a string which stores text. So the first thing you have to know is how we can create variables in Java. You can create variables in a few steps. The first step is usually to declare the variable, and the second step is to assign some value to the variable. But of course you can perform both those steps in one step by assigning the value to the variable at the same time as you are creating the variable. So let's first try to create a variable using the first way I described. First we'll declare the variable, a few variables, and then we'll assign some values to them. So let's go ahead and create an integer variable, which is a number. We'll create an integer a and an integer b. So we have just declared two variables. Next, these variables right now are null. That means that they haven't got any value assigned to them. If we wanted to perform some operations on these variables, like add or multiply, then most probably the compiler would throw an error and wouldn't compile the program. So what we have to do, we have to assign a value to our variables. As these variables are an integer data type, the value that we assign to these variables must be a number. So we'll assign the number 12 to our first variable a, and to our second variable, which is variable b, we will assign a value of 28. So we have declared two variables, and we have assigned a value to each of these variables. Now if we use the method that I described in the second tutorial, we can print out in the console these variables. So if we do system.out.print and then inside the parentheses, instead of putting a string, we put a variable a, which is an integer. So if we run this program, in the console we should say 12. So if we run this program, just as I said, we see 12. But this isn't all. You can also perform operations on these variables. By that I mean we can add, we can subtract, we can multiply, and we can also divide. So let's try adding these two variables together. If we run this program, we'll get 40 plus 28, because 12, which is assigned to a variable a, plus 28, which is assigned to the variable b, gives 40. Of course, we can also do something that we create another variable, another integer total, and we assign a value of a plus b to the variable total, and then we just put the variable total in our print method. So we should also get 40, and that's what happens. And you'll notice that the variable total, I declared it, and in the same line I also assigned a value to the variable. And you'll also notice that once we declare a variable, and we declare the variable of a certain data type, and in this case the data type of all of these variables is the integer, then you'll notice that we don't have to place integer again before these variables, because we have already declared them. The same goes with the total. We don't have to place integer in front of it once we've declared it in this line. So this was the integer data type, which which can be a number. But there's also another data type which I want to talk about today, which is the string data type. So let's create two variables, string text1, text2. As the names of the variables would suggest, the string data type stores text. So if we now assign a value to text1, let's say I'm text1, and then we assign a value to our second variable, I'm text2, then you'll notice we do the same as we did with the integer variable. We don't have to place the string data type in front of our text1 and in front of our text2 variables, because we have already declared them in this line. We can do exactly the same as we did before. We can print these variables. Let's just print text1 in the console. And also, interesting thing is with string variables that you can actually add them to each other, but you can't. You can add them, which will give both these variables like this, but you can't take away. You can't multiply and you can't divide. This goes to show that you can also do something like that. We declare an integer variable x, and we assign a value to like 12, and then we use the system.out.print method, and we can in these we can write I like your money, and then we can add 12 to the your money, and I mean x, and this should output your money, and then after we should have 12, and that's basically what happens. So that goes to show also if we can also divide numbers. If we divide 12 by 6, we should get 2. We can also multiply numbers. 12 by 6 is 72. We can, of course, take away numbers, and of course we can add. The same goes with variables. We can perform all of those mathematical actions on variables. If we have a variable x, we can add it to a variable y. We can take away, we can multiply, or we can divide. Well, that's all that I wanted to cover in this tutorial. I hope I helped you, and I'm looking forward to seeing it in my next tutorials.